My name is Marisol Williams, and I'm 25 years old now, living my best life in Seattle as a successful software developer. But 9 years ago, on my 16th birthday, my world shattered when my mother turned my celebration into my sister Jade's party because she's sensitive and needs more attention. That night, I packed my bag and left home choosing myself for the first time. The journey from sleeping on park benches to building my own life wasn't easy, but it changed everything. Before I tell you how I went from homeless teen to thriving adult, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, and subscribe if you've ever had to choose yourself first. Growing up in the suburbs of Portland, I was part of what appeared to be a perfect American family. My parents, Diana and Frank Williams, had two daughters, me and my sister Jade, who was 3 years younger. My early childhood memories are filled with warmth and happiness. Every summer, we would spend 2 weeks at our family lake house swimming until our fingers pruned and roasting marshmallows around the campfire. My dad taught both Jade and me how to fish patiently, showing us how to bait the hook and cast the line. Mom would bake elaborate birthday cakes for each of us. Mine always chocolate with raspberry filling, and Jade's always funfetti with buttercream frosting. Those were the golden days. But things started to shift when Jade was around 7 years old. It began with small incidents that seemed innocent enough at the time. She would throw tantrums if she didn't get her way, refuse to share her toys, and demand constant attention from our parents. Instead of addressing these behaviors, my mother especially began to coddle her. Jade is just more sensitive than other children. She would explain when teachers or other parents expressed concern. She needs extra support. My father initially tried to maintain a balance, making sure I wasn't overlooked. I remember him taking me to a father-daughter dance when I was 11, whispering that this was our special night, while Mom stayed home with Jade, who had thrown a fit about being left out of an event that wasn't even for her. But as time went on, even Dad began to give in to Mom's approach. It was easier to avoid Jade's meltdowns than to stand firm. A pattern of sacrifice was firmly established by the time I entered middle school. If I won an award, my parents would downplay it around Jade to avoid making her feel bad. When I was selected for the competitive soccer team and Jade wasn't, my mother made me turn it down because it wouldn't be fair to your sister. When I earned a spot at science camp through a school competition, I was told I couldn't go because Jade hadn't been selected, and it would crush her spirit. With each incident, my resentment grew, though it was always tangled with genuine love for my sister. I wanted her to be happy, but I couldn't understand why her happiness had to come at the expense of mine. Why wasn't there room for both of us to succeed and be celebrated? I developed coping mechanisms to deal with my family situation. I threw myself into academics, finding satisfaction in achievements that couldn't be taken away. I cultivated a small circle of supportive friends who valued me for who I was, and I discovered the local library, a sanctuary where I could escape for hours. It was there that I developed my passion for computers and coding, teaching myself programming languages from books and practicing on the public computers. The unfair treatment became so normalized that I stopped expecting anything different. When my parents forgot to attend my debate competition but rearranged their work schedules for Jade's chorus concert, I swallowed my disappointment. When my art project was displayed in the school showcase, and my parents couldn't make it because Jade had a minor cold, I pretended it didn't matter. When I made dinner for the family on nights Mom worked late, only to have Jade complain about the food and get ordered pizza instead, I ate my rejected meal alone in the kitchen. I occasionally attempted small rebellions. Once, I refused to give Jade my new sweater that she suddenly decided she wanted to wear to a friend's party. My mother's response was swift. "Why are you being so difficult? You know how important social acceptance is for your sister. Don't be selfish." Another time I tried to discuss the unfairness with my father, who just sighed and said, "Your mother means well. Jade struggles in ways you don't. Please try to understand." Gradually, an emotional distance grew between me and my parents, though I maintained a facade of family harmony. I became the easy child, self-sufficient, uncomplaining, and increasingly invisible. I told myself that things would eventually balance out, that my parents would one day recognize their unequal treatment. I was wrong. My 16th birthday was supposed to be special. In our family, 16 had always been treated as a milestone birthday, the first grown-up celebration. When my parents had asked what I wanted the previous year, I had requested a small gathering with my 5 closest friends, a homemade dinner of my favorite foods, and perhaps a trip to the bookstore to pick out something special. I wasn't asking for an extravagant Sweet 16 party with a DJ and designer dress. I just wanted a day that acknowledged my existence and growth. For months, I had been saving money for my weekend job at the local cafe to help with the expenses. I didn't want to burden my parents financially. There was only one significant gift I hoped for: a new laptop that would allow me to work on more advanced coding projects. I had shown my parents the specific model one that was powerful but reasonably priced, and they had nodded approvingly. About 3 weeks before my birthday, I noticed some warning signs. My mother became vague whenever I brought up birthday plans. "We'll figure something out," she would say, changing the subject quickly. Meanwhile, Jade, despite being only 13, suddenly developed an intense interest in Sweet 16 themes, flipping through magazines and leaving them open to elaborate party spreads. One evening, I overheard my parents arguing in their bedroom. "We need to be fair about this," my father said, his voice strained. "We can't just cancel her plans." "I'm not saying cancel," my mother replied defensively. "I'm saying we need to balance everyone's needs in this family. You know how Jade gets when she feels left out." The conversation abruptly stopped when they realized I was passing by the hallway. My stomach twisted, but I tried to dismiss my concerns. Surely they wouldn't actually hijack my birthday. That would be too blatantly unfair even for them. The week before my birthday, my friends were buzzing with excitement. Layla and Zach were planning to bake my favorite triple chocolate cookies. Sam had hinted at a special playlist he was creating for the celebration. My boyfriend Thomas texted mysteriously about a gift he'd been saving up to buy. At school that week, Ms. Richardson, my computer science teacher, pulled me aside after class. "Marisol, that algorithm you developed for the class project was exceptional. Have you thought about applying for computer science scholarships? With your talent, you could get into an excellent program." For the first time, I allowed myself to imagine a future where I could build my own path independent of my family's dynamics. Maybe college would be my escape. The day before my birthday, my mother approached me as I was doing homework at the kitchen table. "Marisol, I need you to be flexible about your celebration tomorrow," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "What do you mean?" I asked, instantly alert. "Well, Jade isn't feeling well. She says she's having anxiety about being excluded from your party. You know how sensitive she is about these things." I looked over to where Jade was sprawled on the living room couch, scrolling through her phone and giggling at something on the screen. She didn't look anxious or unwell to me. "It's just 5 friends, Mom, a quiet dinner. How is that excluding her?" "It's not the event itself, it's the attention. Dr. Myers says that children with Jade's sensitivity need extra support during family milestones." Jade had seen a therapist twice after a meltdown at school, and suddenly my mother quoted this doctor like he was a daily consultant. I tried another approach. "Dad and I already bought the ingredients for the dinner. Everyone has already been invited." My father, who had been silently making coffee during this exchange, suddenly found an urgent need to check the mail outside. His avoidance told me everything I needed to know. "We'll figure something out," my mother repeated, patting my hand condescendingly. "Just remember how much your sister adores you and looks up to you. Sometimes being the older sister means making sacrifices." I went to bed that night with a knot in my stomach, but still holding on to a sliver of hope that maybe I was overreacting. The morning of my birthday, I woke up to the smell of pancakes, my favorite breakfast. For a moment, I felt relieved. Maybe things would be normal after all. I came downstairs to find my parents and Jade at the table, a small wrapped package next to my plate. "Happy birthday, sweetie," my mom said, kissing the top of my head. The gift turned out to be a new phone case. Not the one I had mentioned wanting, but at least it was something. As I got ready for school, I noticed my dad bringing in shopping bags from his car. I caught a glimpse of party decorations in purple and silver. My heart sank. Purple was Jade's favorite color, not mine. Mine was blue. They had always known that. All day at school, I tried to focus on my classes, but my mind kept returning to what might be happening at home. By the time the final bell rang, I felt sick with anticipation. "See you at 6, Layla called as we separated in the parking lot. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. When I arrived home, the first thing I noticed were cars I didn't recognize parked along our street. Too many cars for just my 5 friends. I took a deep breath and opened the front door. The scene that greeted me confirmed my worst fears. Our living room had been transformed with purple and silver streamers, a large Sweet 16 banner that clearly wasn't meant for me, and clusters of balloons. But it wasn't the decorations that stopped me cold. It was the people. Instead of my 5 closest friends, the room was filled with Jade's friends from middle school. About 15 preteen and teenage girls were gathered around our coffee table, which was laden with snacks and a purple cake. In the center of it all stood Jade, wearing a new dress I'd never seen before, beaming as she directed her friends to different activities. My mother was bustling around, refilling punch cups and looking completely in her element. For a moment, no one noticed me standing in the doorway. Then my father emerged from the kitchen, spotted me, and his face fell. He hurried over, keeping his voice low. Marisol, I know this is a surprise. Your mother thought it would be nice to have a combined celebration. Your friends are still coming later. I stared at him in disbelief. Combined? This doesn't look combined to me. Before he could respond, my mother spotted us and came over, her smile tight. Marisol, you're home. What do you think? Isn't it festive? What happened to my birthday? I asked, fighting to keep my voice steady. Where are my decorations? Why are all of Jade's friends here? My mother's smile didn't waver, but her eyes hardened slightly. Don't make a scene, please. We can celebrate you next weekend. Jade has been feeling very left out lately, and since you're more mature, we thought you wouldn't mind sharing your special day. Sharing? I looked around the room again. There's nothing of mine here. This is her party, not mine. By now, Jade had noticed our huddle by the door. She sauntered over, her expression a mixture of smugness and feigned concern. Happy birthday, sis, she said sweetly. Do you like the party Mom let me help plan everything? Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. My heart sank further, as I realized it must be my friends arriving to a party that wasn't mine at all. My mother squeezed my arm painfully. Smile and be gracious, she whispered. Your sister has been looking forward to this for weeks. And that's when the full reality hit me. This had been planned for weeks. My birthday had been hijacked with premeditation and full awareness of what they were doing. I plastered a fake smile on my face as Layla, Zach, Sam, and Thomas entered, their expressions shifting from excitement to confusion as they took in the scene. The fifth friend, Maya, texted that she was running late. Happy birthday, Sam said uncertainly, handing me a carefully wrapped package. Thanks, I managed. There's been a change of plans. It's a combined party with my sister. Oh, Thomas looked around, clearly noticing the disconnect between the middle school girls and the decorations that were obviously not chosen by me. He squeezed my hand supportively. The next hour was excruciating. My mother insisted I help serve the purple cake that should have been mine. The flavor inside was funfetti, Jade's favorite, not the chocolate raspberry I had requested. As I handed out slices to Jade's giggling friends, I noticed my own friends huddled awkwardly in a corner, looking as out of place as I felt. When's the gift opening? One of Jade's friends asked excitedly. Soon, Jade clapped her hands. Mom got me the most amazing presents. I caught my father's eye across the room. He looked away quickly, his discomfort evident. He was complicit in this, but at least he had the decency to feel guilty. When I couldn't take any more, I quietly slipped away to my bedroom, shutting the door on the sounds of Jade's party below. I sat on my bed staring at the wall, trying to process what was happening. My phone buzzed with a text from Thomas. Are you okay? Should we leave? I was about to reply when my door opened and my mother entered without knocking. She was carrying a plate with a slice of cake. I brought you some cake, she said, setting it on my desk. Why are you hiding up here? Your friends are wondering where you went. Are they? I asked dully. I thought everyone was too busy celebrating Jade to notice. My mother sighed dramatically and sat on the edge of my bed. I knew you'd be difficult about this. I don't understand why you can't just be happy for your sister. It's my birthday, I said, my voice finally breaking. Not hers, mine. Why would I be happy that you've turned my birthday into her party? Marisol, you need to understand something. My mother's voice took on the patronizing tone she used when she thought she was imparting great wisdom. Jade is different from you. She's sensitive and needs more attention. She's been feeling anxious about you turning 16 and getting more privileges. Dr. Myers suggested that including her in your milestone moments might help her feel more secure. So my birthday doesn't matter at all. My feelings don't matter. Of course they matter, but you've always been the strong one, Marisol. You can handle disappointment better than Jade can. You're so independent and capable. Jade isn't like that. She needs extra support and validation. I stared at my mother, suddenly seeing with perfect clarity what my future would look like if I stayed. Every milestone, every achievement, every special moment in my life would be overshadowed by Jade's needs. College graduation. Jade might feel bad about not getting into her first choice school. My wedding someday, Jade might feel insecure about not having a boyfriend. The birth of my child. Jade might feel jealous about not being a mother yet. It would never end. I would always be expected to dim my light so Jade could shine brighter. I need some time alone, I said quietly. My mother stood up, patting my leg condescendingly. Take a few minutes, then come back downstairs. Jade's opening presents soon. She paused at the door. Oh, and remember to thank her for letting you join her special day. As the door closed behind her, I heard Jade's excited squeal from downstairs, followed by the sound of tearing paper. I realized with a jolt that she was opening presents, my presents. The gifts my friends had brought for me were being claimed by my sister while my parents watched approvingly. In that moment, sitting on my bed while my birthday was celebrated without me downstairs, I made a decision that would change the course of my life. I deserved better than this. I deserved to be valued and celebrated. And if my family couldn't give me that, I would have to find it elsewhere. After my mother left my room, I sat very still for about 5 minutes, listening to the sounds of celebration continuing without me downstairs. Then, with a clarity and purpose I'd never felt before, I got up and pulled my backpack from my closet. It was time to go. I moved methodically around my room, selecting only what was essential. A few changes of clothes, my toiletries, my journal, and the external hard drive where I kept all my coding projects. I added my school laptop, which technically had to be returned at the end of the year, but I needed it more than the school did right now. I took the framed photo of my grandfather, who had always made me feel valued before he passed away, but left the family photos on my dresser. From beneath my mattress, I retrieved the envelope containing my savings from 2 years of weekend and summer jobs. I'd been saving for college expenses, putting aside money that my parents didn't know about. I counted it quickly, $1,437. Not enough to live on for long, but enough to give me a start. As I packed, I could hear Jade's voice carrying up the stairs, exclaiming over what sounded like my laptop, the very one I'd been hoping to receive. It's exactly what I wanted. How did you know? I felt a strange calm as I zipped up my backpack. I took a piece of paper from my desk and wrote a brief note. I deserve to be celebrated too. Don't look for me. I placed it on my pillow where it would be easily found. With my backpack secured, I crept down the back staircase that led to the kitchen. Everyone was gathered in the living room, focused on Jade opening another gift. I slipped out the back door without anyone noticing my departure. Outside, the spring evening was cool but not cold. I stood for a moment in our backyard, looking at the house that had been my home for 16 years, but had never truly felt like mine. The windows glowed with warm light, and I could see shadows moving inside. For a second, doubt crept in. Was I overreacting? Could I go back inside and try one more time to make them understand? Then I heard Jade's laughter followed by my mother's voice. Isn't this so much better than the small party Marisol wanted? That was all I needed to hear. I turned and walked away, my backpack heavy on my shoulders, but not as heavy as the weight I was leaving behind. I walked to the bus stop 3 blocks away and caught the 7:15 bus downtown. As we pulled away from my neighborhood, I felt a strange mixture of terror and exhilaration. I had no real plan beyond getting away, but for the first time in years, I was choosing myself. The city center was still bustling when I arrived. I wandered through the crowd, suddenly aware of how vulnerable I was, a 16-year-old girl alone at night. I needed to find somewhere safe to spend the night. The youth shelters I knew about required parental permission for minors, which wasn't an option for me. As night fell and the temperature dropped, the reality of my situation began to sink in. I found a park with benches near a police station, thinking it might be safer. I sat on a bench, my backpack clutched to my chest, watching as the park gradually emptied of people. By 11 o'clock, I was alone. That first night was the hardest. Every sound made me jump. I dozed fitfully, waking at the slightest noise. I was cold, scared, and beginning to doubt my decision. But whenever I thought about going home, I remembered the look on my mother's face as she explained why Jade deserved my birthday more than I did. Don brought a police officer on his morning patrol, tapping my foot with his baton. "Can't sleep here, miss. Move along." I nodded and gathered my things, my body stiff and sore from the uncomfortable night. I found a public restroom where I could wash my face and brush my teeth. Looking in the mirror, I hardly recognized myself. Just yesterday, I had been a normal high school student with a home. Now I was homeless. The first week passed in a blur of survival. I established a daily routine to maintain some sense of normalcy. In the mornings, I would use public restrooms to clean up as best I could. Then I'd head to the library when it opened, both for the warmth and the computer access. I could check my email and continue working on coding projects, pretending my life was still somewhat normal. For food, I rationed my money carefully, buying inexpensive items from grocery stores rather than eating at restaurants. A loaf of bread, some peanut butter, and fruit could last several days. I learned which fast food places would let me sit for hours if I bought a small item. Finding places to sleep was the biggest challenge. I rotated between different parks and public areas, never staying in the same place 2 nights in a row to avoid being noticed. I discovered that hospital waiting rooms were good options, sometimes bustling, but usually no one questioned a teenager sitting quietly in a corner, presumably waiting for a parent in treatment. To maintain hygiene, I discovered that many gyms offered free trial periods. I would sign up using different variations of my name, use their showers, and then decide the gym wasn't right for me. It wasn't ideal, but it kept me clean. The weather became my constant concern. Spring in Portland meant frequent rain. I spent rainy days in the library, the mall, or movie theaters where I could buy the cheapest ticket and stay for multiple showings. Throughout this time, I was constantly looking over my shoulder, worried about being recognized. I'd left my phone behind to avoid being tracked, but that also meant I had no way to contact anyone or get help in an emergency. Despite the hardships one thought kept me going, I had chosen this. As difficult as homelessness was, it was still my choice, not something imposed on me. For the first time in my life, I was living on my terms, not existing in Jade's shadow. But as my money dwindled and my resolve was tested by hunger, exhaustion, and loneliness, I began to wonder if I'd made a terrible mistake. Pride kept me from going home, but reality was making it clear that I couldn't survive like this much longer. 3 weeks into my new homeless reality, everything changed when I met Amara. I was at the Central Library, my regular daytime sanctuary, working on a coding project to distract myself from my growling stomach. I'd been skipping meals to stretch my dwindling funds. Amara was the head librarian for the technology section, a tall woman with braided hair and glasses, who had noticed my daily presence. That afternoon, she approached my computer station. "You're here every day," she observed, her voice kind but direct. "Always coding. You're good." I tensed, afraid she was going to ask me to leave. "Is that a problem?" "Not at all. I'm impressed by your dedication. C++ isn't easy." She glanced at my worn clothes and the backpack I kept clutched close. "Are you okay? You seem tired." My instinct was to lie to say everything was fine, but something about her genuine concern broke through my defenses. "I'm managing," I said cautiously. Amara nodded, seeming to understand more than I was saying. "Our cafe is throwing out yesterday's sandwiches, health regulations, shame to waste food. Would you like one?" My pride wanted to refuse, but my empty stomach won out. I nodded gratefully. That sandwich led to a conversation, and over the next few days, Amara gently earned my trust. She never pushed, but she offered resources, information about a coding competition with a cash prize, recommendations for free tech workshops at the library, and finally the suggestion that changed everything. "There's a youth program downtown," she told me one afternoon. "Independence Works. They help young people in difficult situations. No questions asked about why you left home. They have temporary housing that doesn't require parental permission for certain cases." I was skeptical but desperate. They'd send me back home. "Not necessarily. Oregon has allowances for mature minors in unsafe situations." She paused. "Emotional neglect counts, Marisol." The next day, Amara drove me to Independence Works. After an interview where I explained my situation without sugarcoating anything, I was amazed to be offered a spot in their transitional living program. It wasn't fancy, just a small room with a twin bed, shared bathroom facilities, and strict curfews, but it was safe, warm, and off the streets. Adjusting to communal living was challenging. The facility housed 12 other teens, all with their own difficult stories. Some had fled physical abuse, others had been kicked out for their sexuality, and some had parents battling addiction. Compared to many of them, my story of parental favoritism seemed almost trivial, though the program counselors assured me my feelings were valid. With stable housing secured, my next priority was education. Despite everything, I was determined not to fall behind in school. The administrative challenges were daunting at first. Without parental involvement, enrollment was complicated. Independence Works connected me with a legal advocate who helped navigate the system, using provisions for unaccompanied youth to get me registered at a high school near the shelter. Starting at a new school mid-semester was difficult, but being anonymous was also freeing. No one knew me as Jade's sister, or the quiet girl. I could simply be Marisol, the new student who was good at math and computer science. One particularly supportive figure was Mr. Davis, the school counselor. When I explained that I was living independently, he didn't press for details, but instead focused on what I needed to succeed. He arranged for me to have extra time in the computer lab and connected me with resources for college applications, understanding my determination to build a better future. While focusing on school, I also needed income. My savings wouldn't last forever, and Independence Works expected residents to work towards self-sufficiency. Through their job placement program, I landed a position at TechFix, a local computer repair shop. The pay was minimum wage, but the experience was invaluable. I quickly proved myself adept at diagnosing hardware issues, and my coding skills allowed me to help with software problems too. Arthur, the shop owner, became another important mentor. A gruff man in his 50s, he had little patience for incompetence, but respected hard work. "You've got good hands and a better brain," he told me after I successfully recovered data from a damaged hard drive. "Keep at it, and you'll go places in this industry." Working 20 hours a week while maintaining my grades was exhausting, but it gave me purpose and the beginnings of financial independence. I opened my first bank account, started saving again, and even began researching college scholarships for computer science. Emotionally, the transition was harder than I let anyone see. Independence Works provided weekly therapy sessions with Dr. Lena, who specialized in working with teens in crisis. Initially, I was resistant, believing I could handle my feelings on my own. But as the weeks passed, I gradually opened up about the years of feeling secondary in my family, the constant expectation to sacrifice for Jade, and the pain of having even my birthday taken from me. "What you're describing is a form of emotional neglect," Dr. Lena told me. "Your parents failed to meet your emotional needs while overemphasizing your sister's. That creates real psychological harm." Hearing my experience validated by a professional was surprisingly powerful. I wasn't overreacting or being selfish. My feelings mattered. I had a right to be seen and valued. Dr. Lena helped me work through my conflicted feelings about my family. I still loved them, especially my father, who I believed had been pressured by my mother's favoritism of Jade. But love didn't mean I had to accept mistreatment. "There's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation," Dr. Lena explained. "You can eventually forgive them for your own peace without allowing them back into your life if they can't respect your boundaries." As spring turned to summer, I began to imagine a future built on self-reliance rather than family support. It was terrifying, but also exhilarating. For the first time, I was the protagonist in my own life story, not a supporting character in Jade's. The next 2 years were transformative as I built my new life piece by piece. After completing my junior year at the new high school, I made a strategic decision to get my GED rather than continuing with traditional schooling. This would allow me to focus on college preparation and work more hours to build financial stability. I studied intensively for the GED exams, utilizing free online resources and help from tutors at Independence Works. When the results came back, I had scored in the top percentile in all subjects, with perfect scores in mathematics and science. And Mr. Davis, who had continued to support me despite my switch to GED, helped me leverage these scores for early community college enrollment. By fall, at just 17 years old, I was taking computer science courses at Portland Community College while continuing to work at TechFix. The community college had affordable tuition and offered evening classes that accommodated my work schedule. I thrived in the academic environment, finally able to pursue my passion without restraint. Scholarship applications became my second job. I wrote countless essays about overcoming adversity, technological innovation, and my goals for the future. My perseverance paid off when I received the Thompson Technology Scholarship, which covered tuition and books for my associate's degree program. Housing remained a challenge. Independence Works had a 2-year limit for their transitional living program, and my time was running out. Through a college bulletin board, I found 2 responsible roommates: Elena, a nursing student, and Danny, who worked as a barista while pursuing a degree in education. We rented a modest 3-bedroom apartment in a working-class neighborhood. It was small and needed repairs, but it was ours. Moving into that apartment was a milestone. I bought secondhand furniture, hung string lights around the windows, and splurged on a quality desk for my computer work. For the first time since leaving home, I had a space that was truly mine, where I could come and go as I pleased, and didn't have to follow anyone else's rules or curfews. I remember sitting on our thrifted couch the first night, looking around at our mismatched dishes and the poster we'd hung to cover a crack in the wall, feeling an overwhelming sense of pride. I was paying my own rent, buying my own food, and making my own decisions. The struggle had been worth it for this moment of pure independence. My career continued to develop at TechFix. Arthur promoted me to lead technician and gave me responsibility for the shop's more complex repairs. Customers began to ask for me, specifically impressed by my ability to explain technical issues in simple terms. Arthur increased my pay twice and adjusted my hours to accommodate my college schedule. "You're the best hire I've ever made," he told me gruffly, after I rebuilt a server system for a local business, saving them thousands in potential data loss. Through Arthur's connections, I secured an internship at Portland Tech, a small but growing software development company. The internship was part-time during the school year and full-time during summer breaks. While the pay was modest, the experience was invaluable, giving me the chance to work on real projects and build my professional portfolio. At Portland Tech, I caught the attention of Sandra Chen, a senior developer who took me under her wing. She reviewed my code, recommended books and online courses to enhance my skills, and invited me to sit in on client meetings to understand the business side of technology. "You have raw talent that can't be taught," Sandra told me after I developed an elegant solution for a client's database problem. "But you're also putting in the work to refine that talent. That combination will take you far." As my professional network expanded, so did my personal one. Elena and Danny became more than roommates. They became my first real friends since leaving home. Neither of them had perfect families either, so they understood my situation without judgment. We supported each other through late-night study sessions, celebrated small victories like good grades or promotions, and created our own holiday traditions when going home wasn't an option for any of us. Through a coding boot camp offered by the community college, I met Julian, a graphic designer transitioning to web development. Our shared interest in technology led to coffee dates discussing user interface design, which gradually evolved into a genuine connection. It was my first relationship since leaving home, and Julian's patience and understanding helped me lower the walls I'd built around my heart. "You don't have to be perfect with me," he said one evening when I apologized for canceling plans due to an urgent project deadline. "I like you for who you are, not what you achieve." That simple statement hit me hard, making me realize how much of my self-worth had become tied to accomplishment and self-sufficiency. Allowing myself to be vulnerable with Julian was another kind of growth, just as important as my academic and career progress. By the time I turned 19, I had completed my associate's degree and was accepted to Oregon State University's computer science program with a substantial merit scholarship. While continuing to work part-time at Portland Tech, I made the transition to university-level studies, finally accessing the cutting-edge education I had always dreamed of. For my 20th birthday, still a difficult date given the memories attached to it, Julian and my friends organized a celebration that was entirely about me. They decorated our apartment with blue balloons, my actual favorite color, made chocolate raspberry cake, my actual favorite flavor, and gave thoughtful gifts that showed how well they knew me. Sitting surrounded by people who valued me for exactly who I was, I felt the last pieces of my healing fall into place. With my university studies progressing well, I landed a summer internship at Nexus Systems, a respected technology company in Seattle. The internship came with housing for the summer and a generous stipend. More importantly, it offered the possibility of full-time employment after graduation. That summer in Seattle opened my eyes to possibilities beyond Portland. I loved the city's technology scene, the natural beauty of the surrounding area, and the sense of being somewhere completely new, where no one knew my history. By the end of the internship, I had a formal job offer for a full-time position after graduation, with a starting salary that seemed almost unbelievable after years of financial struggle. As I prepared to start my final year of college, I reflected on the journey from that park bench 4 years earlier to where I stood now. The scared 16-year-old who fled home with nothing but a backpack and determination had transformed into a confident young woman with a promising career, supportive relationships, and true independence. It was a rainy Tuesday morning in Seattle, nearly 3 years after I'd graduated college and moved into my own apartment, when an unexpected email arrived in my inbox. The subject line read simply, "From Dad." I stared at my screen, my coffee going cold beside me. For 7 years, there had been no contact with my family. In the early days, I checked public records to make sure there wasn't a missing persons report filed for me. There wasn't. I'd sent a single postcard 6 months after leaving, addressed to my father at his workplace, with just 3 words, "I am safe." No return address. That was it. The email was brief. "Marisol, I hope this reaches you. Your old email still works. We've been trying to find you for years. Your mother and I separated last year. Jade is in college now. We all miss you. I know we failed you terribly. If you're willing, I'd like to talk. No pressure, no expectations. Love, Dad. My finger hovered over the delete button. My life was good now. I had a fulfilling job as a software developer at Nexus Systems, a comfortable apartment overlooking Lake Union, and a circle of friends who knew and valued the real me. Julian and I had amicably parted ways after college, but I was now in a relationship with Elliot, a kind and supportive engineer I'd met at work. Why risk disrupting this hard-won peace? I closed the email without responding and went to my scheduled therapy session that evening. I'd continued with therapy throughout the years, working through the layers of my childhood experiences. What are you afraid might happen if you respond? Dr. Mariana asked after I told her about the email. That they'll try to pull me back into their dysfunction. That nothing's really changed. That they'll make me feel like that invisible girl again. Do you feel like that invisible girl now? I considered this. No, I'm stronger now. I know my worth. Then perhaps meeting them would be from a position of strength, not vulnerability, she suggested. You can set boundaries. You can walk away if needed. But you might also get answers or closure. After careful consideration and several drafts, I replied to my father 2 weeks later, agreeing to meet in a public cafe in downtown Seattle. I asked Elliot to be nearby as emotional support, though not at our table. When the day came, I arrived early, choosing a table with a clear view of the door and exit. Elliot settled at the counter with a book present, but not intrusive. The door opened, and I immediately recognized my father, though he looked much older than I remembered. His hair had gone completely gray, and his shoulders stooped slightly. Behind him were my mother, her face tense with anticipation, and a young woman I barely recognized as Jade, now 22, and looking more mature than the spoiled girl I'd left behind. My father spotted me first. Marisol, he said, his voice breaking slightly. He made a movement as if to hug me, then stopped himself, respecting the distance I'd established in my email. Hi, Dad, I replied, keeping my voice steady. The initial conversation was awkward and stilted as we ordered coffee and found our way through basic pleasantries. My mother kept dabbing at her eyes with a tissue while Jade sat unnaturally quiet beside her. You look wonderful, my mother finally said. So grown up and successful. I am successful, I confirmed. I've worked very hard to build my life. We tried to find you, my father explained. Hired a private investigator even. But you were careful about not leaving traces. The postcard you sent let us know you were alive at least. I needed to be completely separate, I said, to see if I could exist outside of our family dynamic. And clearly you can, my mother said with a brittle smile. While our family fell apart in your absence. My father shot her a warning look. Diana, we agreed this wasn't about blame. I addressed the comment directly. I didn't break up our family, Mom. It was broken long before I left. We know that now, my father said quietly. Your leaving forced us to face some hard truths. I asked the question that had lingered for 7 years. Did you look for me that night when you realized I was gone for my own birthday party? My mother flinched, but my father answered honestly. Not until morning. We thought you were just sulking in your room. When I went to check on you the next day and found your note. That was the worst moment of my life. We never imagined you'd actually leave, my mother added. We thought you were just being dramatic. That's the problem, I said evenly. You never took my feelings seriously. You never saw me as a person with needs as valid as Jade's. At this, Jade finally spoke up. I was awful back then. She admitted, her voice soft but clear. I knew exactly what I was doing, manipulating Mom and getting my way all the time. I wasn't really sensitive. I was just a brat who learned how to play the system. Her honesty startled me. This wasn't the Jade I remembered. After you left, Jade continued, everything changed. Mom and Dad started fighting all the time. Dad blamed Mom for pushing you away. Mom blamed Dad for not stopping you. I blamed myself, but also resented you for leaving me to deal with their broken marriage. We separated last year, my father explained. After years of counseling didn't resolve our fundamental disagreements about parenting and responsibility. My mother dabbed at her eyes again. I still think you could have talked to us instead of just leaving. Do you know how terrifying it is to not know if your child is safe, if she's alive or dead? I tried talking to you for years, I replied calmly. You never listened. And I sent that postcard so you'd know I was alive. Where did you go? My father asked. What happened after you left? We imagined the worst. I gave them an honest account of those first weeks homeless, sleeping on park benches, washing in public bathrooms, rationing my saved money for food. I told them about Independence Works, my GED community college, and the scholarships that had helped me build a new life. My mother's face crumpled as I described the realities of teenage homelessness. You slept on benches in the rain. You could have been kidnapped, assaulted, killed. Yes, I agreed. Those were the risks I felt worth taking rather than staying in a home where I was treated as less important than my sister. My father's eyes filled with tears. I failed you completely, he whispered. I should have protected you, advocated for you. Instead, I took the path of least resistance. Why are you telling us this now? My mother asked, her voice strained. To punish us, to make us feel guilty. No, I said truthfully. I'm telling you because you asked. Because these are the consequences of the choices all of us made, yours to marginalize me and mine to leave. Jade was openly crying now. I had no idea it was that bad for you, she said. I was just a kid competing for attention. I didn't understand what it was doing to you. You were a kid, I agreed. But Mom and Dad weren't. They were the adults responsible for both of us. We talked for nearly 3 hours, painful truth after painful truth emerging. My mother alternated between defensiveness and guilt, my father between remorse and explanation. Jade surprisingly showed the most growth, acknowledging her role in the family dynamic with genuine regret. As our time wound down, my father asked the inevitable question, where do we go from here? Can we be in your life again? I had prepared for this. I'm willing to have limited contact on my terms, individual relationships, not forced family gatherings, and only if you respect my boundaries. I laid out those boundaries clearly, no guilt tripping, no minimizing past behavior, no expectations that I would simply slot back into the family as if nothing had happened. My mother seemed ready to object, but my father placed his hand over hers. We accept your terms, he said firmly. Whatever relationship you're willing to offer is more than we deserve. As we prepared to leave, Jade asked if she could hug me. I hesitated, then nodded. It was brief and awkward, but not unpleasant. I'm in Seattle for college, she said as we separated. WSU, studying psychology actually. I'd like to understand family dynamics better. Maybe we could get coffee sometime. Just the two of us. I found myself nodding. Maybe, text me first. My father hugged me next, his embrace familiar yet strange. I'm so proud of the woman you've become, he whispered, even though I had no hand in it. My mother's hug was stiff, her whispered, I'm sorry, seeming more obligatory than heartfelt. I accepted it for what it was, imperfect, like our relationship had always been. As they left, I remained at the table processing the encounter. Elliot came over, sitting across from me. How are you feeling? He asked gently. Strangely okay, I realized. They don't have power over me anymore. In the weeks and months that followed, I cautiously allowed my father and Jade back into my life in small doses. My father and I began a Sunday morning phone call tradition. Jade and I occasionally met for coffee when her studies brought her to my part of the city. My relationship with my mother remained the most distant, limited to brief exchanges during rare three-way calls with my father. Therapy continued to be essential as I navigated these evolving relationships. Dr. Mariana helped me maintain boundaries while also opening myself to the possibility of limited reconciliation. The goal isn't to recreate the past, she reminded me. It's to see if new, healthier relationships can form between the adults you all are now. I continued building my life in Seattle. A promotion at work gave me more responsibility and creative freedom. Elliot and I moved in together, blending our lives in a way that felt equal and supportive. I mentored young women in technology through a nonprofit program, particularly those from difficult family backgrounds. Through it all, I held on to the most important lesson of my journey: self. Advocacy isn't selfishness. Choosing yourself isn't abandoning others, it's refusing to be abandoned. True love doesn't require the sacrifice of dignity or identity. And sometimes the family that truly celebrates you is the one you build yourself. As I look out my apartment window, at the Seattle skyline, watching the sunset paint the clouds in shades of pink and gold, I can't help but marvel at how far I've come from that terrified 16-year-old who slept on park benches. The journey from homeless teen to thriving adult taught me lessons that no comfortable childhood could have provided. 7 years have passed since I walked away from my birthday party that wasn't mine. 3 years since that first difficult reunion with my family. In that time, I've built a life that honors my worth and celebrates my strengths. My relationship with my father has slowly healed. Our weekly phone calls evolved into monthly dinners, and eventually to him visiting my apartment where he marvels at the view and tells me repeatedly how proud he is of what I've accomplished. He divorced my mother and has been seeing a kind woman named Patrice for the past year. I can see how different he is with her, equal, respectful, balanced. Jade and I have forged an entirely new relationship as adults. Her psychology studies led her to painful realizations about our family dynamics, and she's done the hard work of examining her role in it. She apologized not just once in that cafe, but repeatedly through actions that show she's truly changed. Last month, she insisted on celebrating my birthday properly, with decorations in my favorite color, my choice of restaurant, and a thoughtful gift that showed she finally sees me as I am. My mother remains the most complicated relationship. She's made surface-level changes, but still struggles to fully acknowledge how her behavior impacted me. We have brief, polite interactions, mostly when my father facilitates. I've accepted that we may never have the close relationship that mothers and daughters are supposed to have, and that's okay. My worth isn't determined by her ability to see it. The family I've built through choice rather than blood has been my greatest blessing. Elliot proposed last spring, and we're planning a small wedding for next summer. Amara from the library will be my honored guest. After all these years, we still meet monthly for coffee and book discussions. Arthur from TechFix calls regularly to boast about how he discovered my talent. My roommates from those early days, Elena and Danny, remain dear friends, despite now living in different states. Through my mentoring program, I've been able to help other young people navigate difficult family situations. I tell them what I wish someone had told me, that their feelings matter, that they deserve to be celebrated, and that choosing themselves isn't selfish. One mentee in particular, a brilliant 17-year-old named Sophia, reminds me of myself. When she confided that she was considering leaving her emotionally abusive home, I was able to connect her with resources I didn't know existed at her age. Instead of park benches, she has a safe transition program. Instead of isolation, she has support. Watching her thrive despite her circumstances has been one of my greatest joys. My career continues to flourish. I recently led the development team for a new accessibility-focused application that helps visually impaired users navigate technology more easily. The project won an industry award and, more importantly, makes a real difference in people's lives. The difficult path I've walked has given me both strength and compassion. I understand now that my mother's treatment of me wasn't really about me at all. It was about her own unresolved issues. My father's failure to protect me came from weakness, not lack of love. Jade's behavior was what any child would do in a system that rewarded it. Understanding doesn't erase the hurt, but it helps me place it in context. I've learned that healing isn't linear. There are still days when a casual comment or missed call can trigger old insecurities. The difference is that now I have tools to recognize and address these feelings rather than letting them define me. Perhaps the most important lesson I've learned is that we all deserve to be celebrated, not just tolerated, not just accommodated, but truly seen and valued for who we are. Sometimes we have to walk away from people who can't or won't celebrate us in order to find those who will. And sometimes the most important person who needs to learn to celebrate you is yourself. If you're watching this and feeling invisible in your own life, please know that you deserve better. Your feelings matter. Your achievements deserve recognition. Your existence is worthy of celebration. Whether you stay and fight for that recognition or leave to find it elsewhere, the choice is yours. But never doubt that you deserve it. What was a moment when you felt truly celebrated for being exactly who you are? Share in the comments below. And if you connected with my story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear that they deserve to be celebrated too. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, the family that truly values you might be the one you create, not the one you were born into.